Hey, Wembong World Entertainment, and the first reactions, the social reactions to 28 years later, the Bone Temple, are now online. You can see them. And it's weird because it's praising the movie, it's calling it the best horror in years and stuff like that. And yet at the exact same time, they're saying it's probably going to be even more polarizing than the previous movie. So it's basically critics saying, we love it, but the general audience are probably going to hate it. That's what it sounds like. It's really strange. Now, there's nothing outright negative from the critics, but to say it's great, but it's going to be super jarring, that's two things that don't go together. But let's have a look at this anyway, because quite frankly, the last movie, it had great premise. Man, for me, they dropped the ball. Absolutely 100% dropped the ball. And this movie looks like it's pointless, to be honest. I don't like the trailers. Well, it's not that I don't like the trailers. The trailers actually look fine, but it's the same type of thing we got with the last movie where the trailers were fantastic. And then you watch the movie and, yeah, the movie really was a bait and switch. It was like, oh look, it's a story about a son and his father. Oh wait, no, it actually isn't. That was only the first 15 minutes. But let's have a look at this anyway. So, the first social media reactions to Nia DaCosta's 28 years later, The Bone Temple, have been shared online following the horror sequel's press screening on Tuesday night. And based on these initial posts, the Marvel's director has definitely delivered. The Bone Temple has been hailed as one of the best horror movies of the past decade by more than one critic. And it sounds like the gore and brutality have been taken up a few notches. The performances from stars Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell also come in for high praise. Let's keep this in mind. This almost sounds like overpraise because it's a black female director who previously did a movie where she pretty much got thrown under a bus, even though she didn't actually complete the film, which of course was The Marvels. If you remember, she pretty much walked away while editing was happening and stuff like that. This sounds like way too much praise for, oh my god, she's delivered the best horror movie in the past decade. What about Sinners and Weapons and stuff? Weren't you saying the exact same thing about those? So, yeah, just keep this in mind. You know, this is today's critics saying this about a black female director's movie. So, just keep that in mind. And it sucks that we have to actually say that and call that out, as opposed to, why can't you just base the movie off its merits rather than who's directing it? Why does the fact that she's black or a female or whatever, why does that even have to come into it? But that, unfortunately, is where we are today. But it's saying not all of the posts are glowing, but none are outright negative. Danny Boyle's previous film mostly went over pretty well with fans, but did prove to be a more divisive experience for general audiences, particularly the batshit crazy, tonally jarring ending. Though it may seem hard to believe after the mixed response to 28 years later, some critics believe that this follow-up may be destined to be even more polarizing. So you see, this is where they're like, this is the best horror movie in the past decade, but general audiences are probably going to absolutely hate it. So you're kind of saying, we supposedly love it, it's probably going to bomb. That's what that basically says. And yeah, the batshit tonally jarring ending was, of course, when the movie all of a sudden turned into Power Rangers. It was like, what is going on? So this guy said this: Nia DaCosta is a director that more people need to keep their eyes on for the near future. 28 years later, The Bone Temple is one of the greatest horror movies of the decade, as it takes the first movie and goes 10 extra miles with the brutality and intensity of the world. It explores the nature of evil and the balance of life and death, while taking a deep look into people's belief systems and how far fate can take you in a world that's devoid of religious practice. When all you know is evil, who do you believe and trust in? Jack O'Connell delivers yet another outstanding villainous role that's unhinged, demonic and beyond anything we've seen from a horror movie this decade. Alongside Ralph Fiennes and Chi Lewis Perry. Who's that? Is that the big walkie zombie thing? We really get performances that highlight both the insanity and harsh reality of this post-apocalyptic world. So, again, and this is the one thing we're going to keep seeing now, is this overpraise of Nia DaCosta. So they're like, she's the one to watch. It's like, were you saying that with the Marvels? Were you? Because that movie was a disaster, and yous are all now starting to call that out. So this guy says, 28 years later, the Bone Temple, yet more evidence that when you let Nia DaCosta cook, great things tend to happen. So much to love, with Ralph Fiennes walking away with the MVP and tearing the house down with one especially insane sequence that rightfully drew applause. Go see. Again, we're going to see this overpraise of Nia DaCosta. He's saying, you see more evidence of when you let her cook, woo, great things happen. And she's done, what, 2 movies before this, which was The Marvels and The Candyman, and both were absolute flops and disasters. So, what exactly do you mean she cooks great when you let her cook? No, she's done 2 movies so far, and they've both bombed. So, you're talking out your ass with this crap. Next one says, excuse my language, but I just got out of the first screening of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and holy effing shit, this has cranked everything up to 11, and I warn you, you will need a very strong stomach or a sick bag. Also, Ralph Fiennes is truly phenomenal. So, okay, so they're really kind of saying, oh, the brutality is huge. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is at times relentless, deeply cerebral, and a deliciously savage continuation of the story from 28 Years Later. Jack O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes are superb alongside the wonderful Chi Lewis Perry. Who the hell is Chi Lewis Perry? I'm going to assume that's the big zombie dude, or else it's bloody the kid. I don't know. So 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple takes some big swings and most of them land. Suspect it will divide fans, but it's nastier and surprisingly funnier than the first part, with mesmerizing performances from Jack O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes. Okay, so we're seeing the normal standard here. Yeah, they steal the show. Of course they do. Ralph Fiennes was great in the other movie. It's just the movie fell apart. That's the first one we've seen saying, like, yeah, fans are probably going to hate this. So straight away, you're saying, we love it, fans are probably going to hate it or be divided on it. Don't like hearing that it's funnier than the other ones. That's a bit okay. Don't like that. Obviously, you can have humor in these things for a bit of levity. You need it at times. You don't want it to be funnier, though. You don't want to have these characters that every time they say something or do something, it's funny. You don't want that in these type of movies. So the Bone Temple runs laps around 28 Years Later, which is really saying something. Unexpected, uncomfortable, unapologetic. I've long thought the big screen zombie story was played out. This franchise has given it a millennium of momentum. Make these movies forever. Hang on, like, you've literally just said that this runs laps around the last movie. So you're pretty much admitting you didn't particularly enjoy the last movie. You've just said, as far as you're concerned, the zombie trope has run its course. It's played out. And now you get one movie that you like, and you're like, make these forever. Shut the hell up, you moron. So the next one says, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is a great follow-up to Danny Boyle's recent sequel. Nia DaCosta recaptures the magic of the previous films with a propulsive story that utilizes dynamic camera work as it explores the cultist side of faith, religion, NHS. Why? That's weird. And the balance between life and death. Ralph Fiennes continues to be such a veteran performer and concludes Kelson's character brilliantly, creating a meaningful dynamic. Big Dick Samson. Jack O'Connell. What in the name of Christ did this guy just write? Let me go back to that. Ralph Fiennes continues to be such a veteran performer and concludes Kelson's character brilliantly, creating a meaningful, dynamic Big Dick Samson. Okay, fucking whatever. Jack O'Connell was fantastic in Sinners and is again a fun villain here too. One sequence blew me away, a fun film that complements the franchises beautifully. After this and Heda, whatever, Naya is one of our most exciting directors today. Okay, that's all that one guy's thing. Fuck me, what a disaster of a bloody comment he made. We're like, what the Big Dick Salmons? What? Okay. But here again, you're seeing, after this and Heda. So you're naming one movie that she's done just before this that critics loved. What about the other movies she did that were absolute disasters and should be noted? Because she likes to say, it's unfortunate that the writers of those movies wrote such poor shit for me and blah blah blah. It's like, you co-wrote everything. You co-wrote and had production notes and everything with Candyman. You co-wrote and had production notes and everything with the Marvels. So this bullshit of, she's the one to watch. No, she's not one to watch. She's doing what she was told to do. If this thing bombs, are they going to blame Nia DaCosta if this movie bombs? Are they going to go, well, she directed a third again? What are we supposed to... I bet you they won't. So this one says, 28 years later, The Bone Temple is beautifully chaotic, breathtaking, and everything I wanted it to be. Nia DaCosta brought her unique style to this world on a captivating way, and I would watch Jack O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes for hours. Another banger of a film for this franchise, which is saying something because only the first movie was ever received well. The rest of them, not so much. I'm starting to worry now as well about this, the unique style she brings, and we've already heard something about camera angles and stuff. We know they shot the other movie on iPhones. They didn't do that this time, but we're starting to hear, there's some weird camera shit being done. So The Bone Temple is a brutally audacious follow-up to 28 years later that largely sidelines the infected to explore cultism, trauma, psychosis, and compassion. I really like its uncompromising, idiocentric ambition. It's easily more polarizing than 28 years later. So you're hearing it just all goes on like this, where, she's great and fucking blah blah blah. The fact of the matter is they are pretty much flat out saying that the audience is going to hate it. You can't take away from that. They're trying to say, Nia DaCosta is great, blah blah blah. You notice none of them said the story is fantastic. And that last one I read, that is going to be the one that really irks people, that, so the infected are basically the afterthought now in this. It's actually more about the humans and forming cults and stuff like this and religion. And for some reason, as the other guy said, the NHS. By the way, anyone who's wondering what the hell is the NHS, it's the National Health Service in the UK. So why are they doing this? Why have they sidelined the infected? Why is it about religion and cults and stuff? And the fact, again, that pretty much they're all saying it's going to be super polarizing. Yeah, you're pretty much... It's almost like you're trying to set up a defense for Nia DaCosta to say, failed because it's polarizing, but hey, she did great work. That's what it almost sounds like. It's weird. But overall, what are your guys' thoughts? Are you still excited for this movie? What did you think of the last movie? Do you think this movie has a chance to be great? Or are you concerned that, we're just hearing the fluff pieces to kind of, it's because Nia DaCosta directed? Do let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.